I have a question for you. How do you spark change? I want to hear how members of the I Spark Change community spark change in their area of the world.
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
Are you interested in having Rick speak at your event or business? Here is what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
I absolutely loved his performance. It made me feel some type of way.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickornelas.com to book him today.
Welcome back, Impact Heroes. As you may have heard, we're changing things up on this second season of the I Spark Change podcast with the show schedule and format. So each month, we're going to have 3 guest interviews and 1 solo spotlight show called I Spark Change Through, and you can fill in that blank, and we're going to do that all throughout this year. So on these episodes, you're going to meet guests from all different areas of life and business. We may spotlight them, we may have them on the show as a live guest, but you'll see how they spark change in their corner of society and the world in various ways. So on that note, for this show, I have a question for you. How do you spark change? I want to hear how members of the I Spark Change community spark change in their area of the world. So when we rolled out this monthly segment last month, we had the goal of featuring all the different ways that others are going to spark change. And we've heard some really good stories, right? So I thought I would, kick it off for those of you that aren't familiar with what the segment is like to find out how people are sparking change to make the world a better place through their social impact, through spreading positive change in all the different ways. So we found that over the past few years of growing I Spark Change, that there are endless ways to positively impact others each day. And we hope you've heard about many of them on this show. Now, some may seem obvious, like helping out a friend or volunteering at a local charity, but there's many other ways that may not be entirely evident at first glance. So I'm going to share one today, okay? And this is one for myself. And one of the ways that I spark change is through adventure. And yes, you heard me correctly. I said adventure. Now, I've always loved exploring new things and experiencing adventures. And, when I was a small boy, I remember my father would have me help him with everything he could do on the weekend. Now, he'd take me to the hardware store or, have him change the oil in the car or mow the lawn. Now, he made all of this quote unquote work seem like an adventure. So I always enjoyed it, or at least I didn't really complain. Well, let's be honest. I didn't complain until I was a teenager, at least, right? And then I was more interested in other things, right? Like sports and girls probably at that point. But in any case, those experiences developed a longing for adventure in various aspects of my life. And I remember even at a younger age, I always wanted to do some kind of grand adventure. Growing up, this is back in you might think of like Stranger Things days, but we'd go off on our bikes and we'd ride out and we wouldn't come back, till like the sun came down. We'd be gone for like 12 hours. And we'd go on these little mini adventures. But that was always something that, just seemed to be a part of who I was. And even as I grew older, it's something that I've continued to foster in my own life and with my kids, and over the years, our kids have grown up with numerous adventures. When they were younger, we'd go camping, we'd go boating. We had an RV, even from, very young ages. They'd be infants and they'd be camping with us in a tent. But it was always with that adventure. And, the reason I see that as sparking change is because we open their eyes to new experiences that they never would have had otherwise, right? We didn't shelter them. We showed them how to connect with others, how to connect with the world, how to connect with the environment, and, really to have this love for life, which I see that, as sparking change. Now, as we're older now, and my wife Tanya and I, who many of you have met, or who I featured on the show last time on this feature, now our kids are all out of the house. So, now it takes on different forms for us. Like it may be taking, a new yoga class, or, trying out a new restaurant, or going on a trip to a new destination. And speaking of destinations, I mean, many of you have seen pictures on, on social media of some of the destinations coming up. And next, we have one coming up, one trip, and next month on the podcast, we'll spotlight some components of that trip, and you'll have to listen to that episode to hear more about, how that is sparking change. But, in all of these experiences, we spark change by sharing them with others, by engaging with everyone that we come in contact with. And in fact, just last weekend, we visited a new aerial yoga studio for a class. They do pole classes and everything. And afterwards, we chatted with the owners for 20 minutes. We learned all about them, and, they were super happy to have us interested in their business and ask about them. And, this mini adventure was so fun that, we shared the experience on social media and shared it with others. And, the owner was so grateful that she invited us, come back anytime. And, some of this may seem like commonplace, or to others, they may get a little uncomfortable in doing something like this. But to me, I see that as sparking change. I see building those relationships with others, meeting new people that you've never met, doing new experiences so you can share those with others and impact them in a positive way. I see that as all sparking change. So I'd love to hear about any adventures that you've had or plan to have soon, and in all the ways that you're sparking change. So be sure to share them on social media, share them with us in our community group on Facebook and LinkedIn. And who knows, maybe we'll be featuring one of you on a podcast soon with the different ways that you spark change. So thank you all for joining in this quick episode, and we'll see you all next time on the I Spark Change podcast.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments, and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the I Spark Change podcast.